instead of Jonathan. So I think starting early would be good. I think we're going to have questions. I'm just going to say right now, every time Rebecca Blum comes, I get so jealous. I can't handle it anymore.
My granddaughter Rebecca is 17 years old. She's been looking through my telescope since she was 2. She got her own telescope at 13. When she was 7, she drew a picture of herself as an astronaut on the moon, because that's when she found out the shocking news that only men had been to the moon, and she wanted to be the first woman on the moon. But she's upgraded since then, so now she's going to Mars. To begin her astronaut training, Rebecca has gone to NASA's space camp at Huntsville, Alabama every summer for the last 6 years. She started a space club at her high school here at Cranbrook. She was chosen as one of 25 high school students around the country for the Back to Space program. This year, Rebecca went to Possum Space Academy at Embry Riddle Aeronautical University in Florida. So here's Rebecca Blum to tell you about her latest adventure.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here today to tell you about my time at Advanced Possum Academy, which is a program run by Project Possum. So what is Project Possum? POSSUM stands for Polar Suborbital Science in the Upper Mesosphere. The reason POSSUM studies the upper mesosphere is because a very special cloud is formed in the mesosphere. And that type of cloud is called noctilucent cloud, or NLCs. And one of POSSUM's main objectives is to study these NLCs. And that is because they give clues about climate change. When fossil fuels are burned, CO2 and methane is produced, and those produce NLCs. So learning about NLCs can give clues about climate change and how those gases in our atmosphere affect climate change too. Another reason POSSUM studies NLCs is because it's pretty unknown if a rocket is able to fly through these clouds. Right now, rockets fly around them because we're unsure if it's safe. So learning more about them can make that easier if we know we're safe and we can fly through them. Another reason to study NLCs is because we'll learn more about our atmosphere and the atmosphere on other planets, such as Mars. You can see in the middle picture, that is a picture of NLCs. So even though you can observe them from the ground, the best way to collect data is from looking from an aerial view from above. So since noctilucent clouds are in the upper mesosphere, which is the edge of space, one would have to go to space to study NLCs and collect aerial images. So what POSSUM plans to do is to send astronauts on this Virgin Galactic ship to the left, and then use remote sensing instruments to collect data about NLCs. So one would need a Bachelor's of Science before going up on this ship. So I'm currently not able to go up on this mission, but I can help POSSUM in other ways, such as helping with spacesuit testing on the ground. In the upper right, you can see that's emergency evacuation training with using one of the flight suits. So another really big objective of Project POSSUM is to really educate the public, so engage public through direct participation. And then the plan is that public will then inspire and communicate the science to a broader audience. So here is my group in the upper right. So there's only 2 girls, and I was the youngest one there at 17. Everyone else was in college or had a family or adults. But it was really cool to meet everyone because people came from all over the world. So on the left, you can see that's a mission patch that my friend Nancy designed, and we had 6 countries represented. In the bottom right, we are being silly. Someone's using the force. And we just took a photo, and
zero gravity.
exactly. And then this program, the Advanced Possum Academy, that is at Embry Riddle Aeronautical University. So we had a lot of free time throughout the week, and I also got to explore the campus, which is really cool. So this was a week-long program, so what did I really do? So at the beginning of the week, there was a lot of lecture-based learning. So lots of professors came in, and we had classes on space physiology, the effects of hypoxia, how to mitigate the effects of G-force. We learned a lot about the atmosphere at NLCs and how to use Possum Cam to collect data from NLCs. And Possum Cam is remote sensing instrument. So in the upper left, you can see that was sort of the lecture room we were in. And then my team is at the bottom left. And we also got to meet an astronaut. So this is Winston Scott. He flew on 2 space shuttle missions in Denver and Columbia. And he also went on 7 spacewalks. So it was awesome to get to meet him. One of the coolest parts of the week was hypoxia training. So hypoxia is, in a hypoxic environment is when you're in an environment with not enough oxygen. So it's really important to get this training, especially if you're an astronaut or a pilot, because you're going to be high up in the atmosphere where there's going to be low oxygen. So we went through hypoxia training to learn our own specific symptoms to hypoxia, because everyone has specific symptoms and they're also really subtle. So if you aren't able to recognize your symptoms, then you may not know you're in a hypoxic environment and you could lose consciousness, which is very dangerous if you're flying. So we were put in a normal baric chamber, which is the center picture. It looks something like that. And then inside the chamber, there was a row of seats, and each seat had an intercom and an oxygen mask. And we had to fly like plane simulations during it, and the whole thing was recorded. And they also put this little instrument on our finger to measure our oxygen level. A normal oxygen level is from 90, 95, 100. You begin to get in a hypoxic environment when your oxygen level is 80. It can get pretty dangerous at 70, 60. You can black out. So I remember I was around upper 70s when I began to feel my first symptom. I felt warmth in my face, which is a pretty common symptom. And then I began to feel like my fingers were cold, which is also pretty common. But I couldn't feel a third symptom. You were supposed to feel 3 and then put on your oxygen mask, but I just wasn't really feeling a third symptom. Everything was very subtle. And I was also panicking because I saw my blood oxygen level dropping. So it was around like low 70s when they were asking how I was feeling, how my head was feeling when I was flying the plane. And I felt in control. I felt like I was flying that plane pretty well. And they said, do you have a headache? Do you have any cloudy thinking? And I said I felt fine, but I was hitting low 70s, so they told me to put my oxygen mask on anyways. So I put the oxygen mask on, and then I go out of the chamber, and I see the video of me flying the plane at the end. And I was going crazy all over the place. So my third symptom is cloudy thinking, because I did not know I was doing that up there. So another really cool part of the week was spacesuit training. So these are flight suits, and these flight suits are supposed to just be worn as a safety precaution in the Virgin Galactic ship that I showed earlier. These are not to be used for extravehicular activities. The ones at NASA are. So the ones at NASA are $10 million. Each suit is $10 million. These suits are around $50,000 each. So still have to be really careful putting them on. It was putting them on, like they were really heavy, which I wasn't really expecting. Before they were pressurized. You can see in the first 2 photos, my helmet's off, so they're depressurized there. They aren't really designed to be worn for a long time depressurized, so they're very cumbersome, and I was trying to walk around and I was hunched over, and it was very heavy and uncomfortable. But once they began to pressurize it, it was a lot more comfortable. But I remember when they began to pressurize it, my ears began to pop, just like how they would in a plane, which I thought was cool. And I was surprised by how much dexterity I lost in my hands with the gloves on. Because yeah, it was, you could barely move your hand, and the fingers, it was very, very hard to move. And the reason we did this spacesuit training was next they were gonna put us in a simulator to do a pretend, like Virgin Galactic mission to study the NLCs. So they put us in the simulator, and we practiced using Possum Cam, which is the real instrument we would use to collect data from NLCs. And we got to practice moving it around. So I have a short video of that. You'll see that there's a blinking or a green light, and that's the Possum Cam, and then you'll see me on the left in a pressurized suit. So let's see. Here we go. So yeah, there's a pressurized suit. So my favorite part of the week was the high G flight. Yes. So we went in an extra 300 plane. In the top right, you could see a small plane. That's not the exact plane we used, but that's around the same size. So you can see there's really only enough room for 2 pilots, one in the front, one in the back, and I sat in the front. And I remember I was getting in the plane, and they handed me a parachute. And the pilot was like, if I say bail out 3 times, you open the top of the plane and you jump. And I'm not even like certified to, I don't know. So I was like really nervous, but it was amazing. Everything turned out fine. My mom said she's glad I told her about the flight after it happened. And it was also crazy because earlier that day, they had intercom problems. So I was the first person to go up after the issues. So, yeah, no, but it was really great. And during the flight, we practiced our anti-G-lock maneuvers. So G-lock stands for gravity-induced loss of consciousness, because you're going to be feeling a lot of G's up there. We did a lot of flips and parabolas. And this is my G monitor. So I hit 6G and then -2 G's too. So you feel G's like if you're on a roller coaster, you feel like pressed down for positive G's, or you sort of feel like lifted up or like out for negative G, for negative G's. So that was crazy. I actually didn't get sick until after all the flips and we were flying down to the ground. I started getting sick then. But during it was crazy, and we actually got to experience negative G's too. So I got to feel like I was in space in microgravity, and it was really crazy because your arms are floating up, everything's floating up. It really feels like you're in a pool, except there's not the density of the water or any pressure. Just everything is like floating freely. And I even got to fly the plane for a little bit too, and try like a loop. That was crazy. And then another thing that was really interesting was how like close you felt to the sky and the clouds. So when you're in a commercial airliner, you feel like you're in this giant machine, not really touching the clouds per se. You feel like there's several feet of machinery between you and the outside. But if we go back to this picture, you can see with the plane in the top right, there's only a few inches of glass between you and clouds and the outside. So this I think might be my favorite part, when we were flying up there and we were flying through clouds, it really felt like you were like in the cloud. Like there was like nothing else around you. So that was amazing. And I have a quick video of that. I didn't want to be on my phone too much flying. Oh wait, there it goes again. Yeah, so then after that, I graduated. So the week was a really great experience. I learned so much, and I met people from all around the world. And I also got to explore Embry Riddle's campus, which was awesome. And the great thing about Possum too is they have a lot of programs besides Advanced Space Academy. They also have Possum 13, which celebrates women in STEM and who have done a lot for the space community. And they have other things like Possum 8 and normal Possum Academy. So if you have any more questions about Possum Academy, I suggest visiting projectpossum.org, and I can answer some questions now too. Yes?
I think you already answered it. What was the third symptom you were supposed to notice?
Oh yeah, like cloudy thinking and like impaired judgment.
Well, That's weird, because I'm a trained neuroscientist, and I also have a lot of personal experience with, it's a long story, but how do you think you're gonna learn to recognize your own cloudy thinking?
Well, during it, my head sort of felt weird. I felt like I was still flying it. I felt like I was in control, but I guess I did feel a little bit of pressure in my head.
Okay, because you know who Data is, right?
What date it is?
You know who Data is, right?
Oh,
Star
Data.
Trek?
Mm-hmm.
He's always performing self-diagnostics. And I'm going to teach you just a little bit of neuroscience.
Okay.
Okay? Memorize a 16-digit number. If you can't remember all 16 digits, you got cloudy thinking.
All right. That could have just saved my life. Thank you.
Wait till you're over 80, you can't remember.
Any other questions?
I guess it's 10, right?
12.
It could really be 15, but
Okay.
So Rebecca, how would you say compared to space camp? It feels like it is a lot more, it feels like there's a lot more fiber to it. Like it's a lot more intellectually rigorous than Grand Am Space Camp.
Yeah, so they are very different experiences. Space camp, like they're both great in their own right. Space camp is more, you go and you have a blast and you do these simulated missions, which are really helpful and did help me for the mission, the simulated mission I did at Possum. But I would say Possum is definitely more, like you said, like rigorous learning. And you do, like, Space Camp is a lot of like simulations, and Possum is more, you're really doing that stuff. Like we really went on that high G flight, and we really experienced hypoxia, and I got hypoxia certified. So Possum was really the next stepping stone in, I guess, me becoming an astronaut and like that career path. And I was also, if I went to Space Camp right now, I'd probably be one of the oldest people. And at Possum, I was the youngest person. And a lot of those people had started their own space companies, or were like already training to be astronauts. So it was really just the next level, and it was great to meet all those people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know where Jeff is going next summer?
Where?
There.
You know what I got to do this summer?
What?
Spanish.
Any other questions?